she put herself between their daughter and the floor vent, and she did not move all night. Her family thought she was just being a big dog. She was being exactly the right dog at exactly the right time. Maeve was a 4-year-old Great Pyrenees, 114 pounds, white, entirely white, with a deep dark eyes and a broad, strong chest of a breed that was developed to protect small, vulnerable creatures from things that meant them harm. She was not a dramatic dog. She was not a dog who performed. She moved through the house with the unhurried certainty of something old and purposeful. The kind of dog that children lie down against without being invited, because something in a child's body knows safety when it encounters it. Their daughter, Nell, was 20 months old, and she had recently discovered that Maeve was extremely tolerant of being climbed on. On the first Tuesday of December, Maeve stopped being tolerant. Or rather, she stopped being available. She positioned herself on the living room floor directly in front of the floor vent, near the east wall, and she sat down and she did not move. Nell tried to climb on her. She stood. Nell tried again. She shifted position, kept herself between Nell and the vent, and sat back down. Not growling, not tense, not anything that looked like a problem, just immovable. Her mother, Sasha, called her for dinner. Maeve did not come. She had never missed dinner in 4 years. Sasha brought her bowl to her. Maeve ate it without getting up, then returned her nose toward the vent and stayed. Her father, Gil, came home at 7 and found the dog stationed in front of the vent with their toddler asleep on the sofa nearby. He moved Maeve gently. She went 3 steps, turned, and came back. He watched her do this twice and said she's doing something specific. Sasha had been thinking the same thing for 4 hours. At 11 that night, Sasha sat cross-legged on the floor beside Maeve and put her hand on the dog's shoulder. Maeve was warm and completely still, and her dark eyes were on the vent. Sasha put her own face near the vent. There was no smell. There was no sound. There was nothing she could detect. But there was something about the air that came through it. A quality. A temperature that was slightly indefinably off. Not dramatically, just not what it should have been from a furnace running normally in December. She called the HVAC company at 7 in the morning. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you're in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. The technician who arrived, a man named Raymond Okafor, who had been servicing furnace systems in the region for 19 years, ran his CO detector along the vent run first. It did not trigger. He ran his combustion analyzer. He spent 22 minutes in the utility room before he came back out and sat down at the kitchen table with a look that Sasha would remember later as the look of someone about to deliver news they have delivered before and never gotten easier with. The heat exchanger in the furnace had a hairline fracture, not a break, not a rupture, a fracture that was allowing a microscopic quantity of combustion gas to migrate into the air supply on each heating cycle. The concentration at any given moment was below the threshold that would trigger a CO detector. But over the course of a night with the furnace running in December, the accumulation at floor level, where Nell played, where she crawled, where she breathed, was sufficient to cause harm over time. He showed her the location of the fracture on a diagram. It was directly above the east living room vent, the vent Maeve had been sitting in front of since 6 the previous evening. Raymond Okafor had been doing this work for 19 years. He looked at Maeve, where she was still lying near the vent. He said, "I've had 3 calls in the last 2 years where a pet behaved strangely near a vent and a family called out of curiosity. Each time there was a problem. Each time the pet detected it before the detector did. Dogs sense carbon monoxide and combustion byproducts through their olfactory system at concentrations far below what detection equipment is calibrated to alarm on. They don't have a threshold the way a machine does. They simply smell something that isn't supposed to be there, and they respond to it with everything they have. Has your dog ever done something that made no sense until it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. Raymond shut down the furnace, replaced the heat exchanger, and ran 3 cycles of the system before he cleared it. He was there for 4 hours. The house was cold by the time he finished, and Sasha stood in the kitchen, holding Nell against her chest, and felt the specific chill that is partly temperature and partly something else. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never ask for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. When the furnace came back on that afternoon, Maeve got up from the living room floor, stretched, walked to her food bowl in the kitchen, and ate an entire meal with the appetite of a dog who has been working for 14 hours and is finally finished. Nell climbed on her back that evening. Maeve lay flat and let her. The vent in the east wall now has a carbon monoxide detector mounted directly above it, 2 feet up from the floor. Raymond suggested it on his way out. "It's a good detector," he said, "but I'd also keep the dog. Sasha intends to."